Hello, all of you wonderful people out there in podcast land. Welcome to another episode of Black and White Reviews. My name is Will.
And my name is Lee.
And I'm the dude.
You're the dude this week?
Or dude, or El Duderino.
El Duderino.
And I'm Chuck.
Your dudeness. And this week, if you can already tell, we are going to be discussing the 1998 film The Big Lebowski, written and directed by the Coen brothers, starring Jeff Bridges, John Goodman, Steve Buscemi, and Julianne Moore.
Mm-hmm. And there's a bunch of other people in this.
And there's a bunch of other people in this film. Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Philip Seymour Hoffman. Yeah, exactly.
David Hiddleston.
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Tara Reid.
John Turtleman. I can't pronounce his last name.
John Turturro.
Turtleman?
Yeah, Turturro.
Flea.
Flea. Yeah,
Yep.
he's a nihilist.
Yes, he is. He's a nihilist.
And isn't the Russian in this as well too?
Torsten?
No.
Torsten Vogt from Die Hard? Yeah.
No, Peter Stormare from Fargo that we talked about last week.
Oh, yeah, him too. But
That's who he
no,
was
but
talking
Torsten Vogt from Die Hard.
Sure.
He's the long blonde hair dude who was in Die Hard. He's the long blonde hair dude in this. And also the long blonde hair dude in Funny People, where in that movie, Adam Sandler says to him, he's like, "I'm sorry, man, I can't take you seriously. I feel like at any moment you're gonna try to shoot me or throw me off a roof or something." And it was like, the big fourth wall break, middle finger. That guy is just always a bad guy.
So can I go first on this one?
Go for it.
So I haven't seen this since the early 2000s. It's been
Neither have I.
25 years.
Yeah, me neither.
So 25 years ago, I absolutely loved this movie.
But then
today I just finished. It took me about 2 or 3 sittings to watch this movie this time, only because I looked up IMDb, like the use of nudity, like how much nudity is in it, how much profanity is in it, how much, and it's like profanity, severe. And I was like, okay. So I was watching it with my wife, and I'm like, just so you know, there's going to be a little bit of language in this.
I completely forgot how much language was in this movie. I totally forgot that this movie was as bad as it was. And it's really only John Goodman, and it's only Jeff Bridges when he's around John Goodman. Everything else I kind of forgot because, no offense to him, but John Goodman, I didn't think anything off kilter. I completely forgot how heavy this movie is with F-bombs. It was crazy.
And it was heavy. Then there was about 3 or 4 scenes of just random nudity that was pointless.
Oh, yeah.
All the girls falling and jumping in the
there was the one girl on a trampoline. There was Julianne Moore for in the distance.
A split second.
Yeah,
so,
well, I mean, never mind the whole with the pain.
Yeah.
You don't really see much there.
No, that's just creepy.
Yeah. So aside from that brought what would have been an 8 for me down to a 5. If it wasn't for those 2 things for me, this movie for me is still a Coen brothers film. It's still ridiculous. It's still one of the scenes that, has always stuck with me. You have the quote unquote Chinaman who peed on my rug. That's always fantastic. We don't use the term Chinaman anymore. It's Asian American, Thank you, John Goodman. But then when they go and they try to find, we'll get into it later on, but try to find the kid, and they have the whole car scene with the crowbar incident. That scene is fantastic. This is what happens when you, and it's
yeah.
The kid is just totally what?
Because the kid did nothing.
The kid had nothing to do with
to do with anything. We'll get there.
I mean, there are lines in this that are. There are lines in this film that are fantastic. Does he still write? really, like, do you see where the guy is at in his life right now when you're asking if he is still writing? Like, the answer is obviously no.
Of course
but
not.
This is obviously, the this movie though is so, it's outrageous, it's ridiculous, and I just wish that, again, I always go back to this, whenever there is language in a movie for me, it has to make sense. If it doesn't make sense and it's just there for the sake of it being there, it tends to ruin the movie for me. And revisiting this film, the language in this film ruined the 2 or 3 scenes of nudity ruined this film for me. If it wasn't for that, it would be an 8. I thought the acting was fantastic. I thought every character fit their role well. I thought the entirety of it all was, how it was filmed was fantastic. I love how the Coen brothers don't use crazy, stupid special effects. They have a story that builds upon itself. That was all good. It was just the language that ruined it for me. So, Lee or Will, you guys want to go?
So I'll touch upon what you just said there. They don't use crazy special effects. So the last time we talked about a Coen Brothers film, we talked about Fargo.
Yes.
There was minimal to like not really any special effects. I mean, some blood.
Right.
That was really what it came down to. This had a ton of fantasy happening, where he's like dancing in a big place doesn't exist. Next thing you know, he's like going down the aisle or down the alley, a bowling alley. And it's all like super just like fake fantasy. Everything's happening there. A lot of that is all special effect.
I get that.
He's flying, he's doing this, he's dancing, and it's like, what is happening?
Yes,
here?
But compared to what you see today,
oh no, of course,
it's nothing.
But the point is, we're talking about 3 Coen brothers in a row right now. Their films, and we saw Fargo, and it was very minimal. This is more fantastical, and the third one we're going to talk about, I don't remember as much because I fell asleep when I first watched it.
I'm going to put it this way,
and I know it's huge. I know everybody loved that movie, but I was just really tired, just like you were with Dune.
The budget for this film back then was $15 million,
which back then in comparison
today is like, today would be like, I don't know, between 18 and 20 million today.
Wow. Okay. Well, there's that. That's good. Yeah. I mean, it was still just a matter of. I would still even
err on the side of caution with that one and be, a little bit more charitable and say inflation, that price would have absolutely at least doubled. So, and even if it did, a movie of this caliber being made today for $30 million, it wouldn't bat an eye.
$40 million
right.
or
40. It's nothing.
Story. Yeah, the point's still about the story.
Exactly.
So they definitely had a lot. But they definitely did have a lot more special effects in this than they did have in Fargo.
Yes.
And that was what, a year before, 2 years before?
I think it was 2 years prior.
Yeah, we talked 96.
This is 98. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yes.
So me personally watching this movie again, I'll say this: I did enjoy this movie better than when I watched it the first time.
Really?
Yes.
You enjoyed this movie, but you were like, with Fargo?
I never saw Fargo before.
Wow.
Never did. This movie I saw before, and I probably laughed at a couple of parts, but at that time when I first saw it, I mean, I was probably working at Blockbuster, so it's probably like 2006, whatever. I was not in the mindset to enjoy a movie like this. I wanted something that was going to keep on going, joke after joke, or, excitement after excitement. This movie didn't really have that for me back then. Now, watching it, I go, okay, I can find the funny in all of these things. And I've talked about this multiple times for multiple things we talked about. The first time you watch something, if you don't know what you're in for and you watch it, you go, oh, that's what it was. And then next time you watch it, you're going into it knowing what to expect, so you can appreciate the this and the that of it, like where they're going. So going into this movie knowing it's going to be dry, it's going to be weird, it's going to be all about the characters being almost a satire of that type of character, or the movie itself being a satire in itself, or With Fargo, it's all about like the where they're coming from is a character in itself. Like Minnesota, oh okay, here we are. Like all of that stuff, like being its own thing. It's like, okay, not waiting for the characters to say a funny joke or do something slapsticky, but recognize it's more of a push or more of a joke on the characters that they're playing. Like, look how weird people like this are.
Right.
Oh, okay. That is actually funny. Back then, I wasn't ready for it. Here, I'm more ready for it.
Right.
So after seeing Fargo and then watching this again, I'm like, okay, I can see why this is funny. Because John Goodman is by far the funniest part of this movie.
Oh, pants down.
Yeah.
Yeah, pants down. Exactly. All pants down.
Yes.
I said hands down.
I heard pants.
And maybe
poor Donnie. Poor Donnie.
Poor
All
Donnie.
he wanted to do was be a part of things, but he was oblivious. And he was the most oblivious but nicest guy. And all he got from Goodman's character, Walter, was just like, shut the heck up, Donnie, the entire time. In stronger words.
Yeah.
Yes.
The entire time. And you go, poor Donnie.
This poor guy. This poor guy.
And then, obviously we know what happens with Donnie, and you go, why Donnie? Why, of all people, Donnie?
Because why not Donnie?
I just realized with just looking at another picture of this guy, who plays the Big Lebowski. He was in Blazing Saddles.
David Hiddleston.
And that's why he looked so familiar the entire time. The entire time, David Huddleston. I knew he looked familiar. All I needed to see was another picture of him, and I didn't have to go scrolling down any further. He was the guy who kept going, Howard Johnson is right! He was Olsen Johnson in Blazing Saddles, which is a movie that I grew up with since I was like 3. And, Will watched with me, and we shared our bottle caps between orange and grape soda and drank Codwells and had a great night.
Codwells. Don't ever drink Codwells.
But now
it's not even like I can't even classify Codwells as like liquor. It's poison.
No, it's a drug.
It's a drug. Yes. It is poison in a bottle that does horrible, horrible things. And it's cheap. That was the seller.
And it was cheap. It was $10.
$10 for a jug.
For a giant bottle. $9.99 for a massive jug of
And it was like,
Caldwell's
what are we gonna get? We got $10. What are we gonna do?
And it's like, all you think of is like, I remember when my mom used to take the splinters out of my hand and they would use rubbing alcohol because that's what this smells like.
Yep. But then
awesome.
But
a couple of drinks and you stop caring, and then you just and then the bottle's gone, and then
it's gone,
and then it's just regret.
Then it's like Dookie Pants. So we I'd say this movie itself better this time than the first time. Recognizing it's a farcity, like it's not a comedy like I would have watched back then. It's a farce. Like, look at these characters, laugh at how odd they are. And okay, I get it. Do I need to watch this movie again? Probably not. But I appreciated it for what it was.
Cool.
Yeah.
Will, you are the one who recommended the trilogy of Coen brothers. What are your thoughts on the dude?
So I love this movie. I'm not going to be shy about it. A lot of the stuff that's in this movie is right up my alley for things that I love. I like things, and I've said this before, and I'm not going to be shy about it. I like things over the top. I like things violent. I like things vulgar. I like things gratuitous. Do I intentionally recommend that kind of thing here? Of course not. I'm not a maniac, and I know the two of you probably wouldn't enjoy it. I completely forgot about the language that's in this movie. So for that, I do kind of apologize. If I had known it was this over the top, I probably would have chosen a different Coen Brothers movie to go to. But much like Chuck, I haven't seen this movie in well over 20 years. So a lot of it, it's really easy for a lot of that to skip your mind. I think it goes back, I think my thoughts on this movie goes back to something that we were talking about when we were talking about Fargo, and that is the hilarity of the situation, theater of the absurd, and just how over the top a lot of these characters are. John Goodman is an over-dramatized stereotypical Vietnam vet. Like, and it's satire on the Vietnam veteran, and I love that about his character. Because you see other movies where they have like the guy who went to war and he comes back and blah 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 blah. Lieutenant Dan in Forrest Gump is like the perfect like depiction of that. Or even I can't believe I'm gonna say this name. Tom Cruise. Born on the 4th of July. That's another one that I go to where I was like, that is the stereotypical, like, quintessential veteran that you would see in every single movie. And now here's John Goodman with this performance, and it's so over the top. It's so ridiculous. It's so It's so laughable. Exactly, he nailed it. It's so laughable. And then on the flip side of that, you have the stereotypical hippie in Jeff Bridges that is still over the top, and in no way in real life or in any other movie would these two be friends. The hippie and the war guy, not a chance in hell would these two be able to coexist enough to be on a bowling team together. So that right there is enough for me to go, this is brilliant. This is absolutely brilliant.
And then you have Steve Buscemi playing the quote-unquote normal guy.
The normal guy.
The normal guy. The oblivious normal guy.
He got a couple of friends.
Never plays the normal guy.
He got a couple of friends that he does not identify with at all. He just wants to be a part of it, and they're telling him to just shut up.
He just likes to bowl.
And he just wants to bowl. That's all he wants to do is bowl with his buddies, and it's not happening. I kind of feel bad for him. Yeah. So.
Did we forget about Jesus?
Well, he's only in it twice.
Yeah, but they have a whole sequel with Jesus called The Jesus Rolls. That came out like a couple years ago. Did you guys watch that?
I've never heard about this movie.
You've never heard about that?
No.
I'm not kidding. It just came out. Like, he comes out of prison. And
oh my God, you're right.
2019, The Jesus Rolls.
What?
The image starts, it's just him licking the bowling ball. And here he is, John Turturro, reprising his role.
Oh, well, it's not. How would they even do that? It's not a Coen Brothers film. Written by John Turturro, written and directed by John Turturro, of course.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah. I kind of want to watch it now and just see what they... they did with it.
This seems ridiculous.
It's got Christopher Walken in it.
Okay, I'm immediately noping out of this movie.
Tattoo, Susan Sarandon, John Hamm.
I'm all set.
Tim Blake Nelson, who it's got all these Coen people in it, which is interesting.
JB Smoove.
But yet, JB
Smoove.
I love JB Smoove.
Yeah, sure, but it's like, why? For what? Why?
Why? Well, because I don't know. It's to Jesus.
But anyways, so yeah, those are my initial thoughts of this movie. I think this is fantastic, and for this to come out immediately after Fargo, for like the Coen brothers to escalate things this much, I think there's something to be said, for that. Like this is
right.
This is like. I'm gonna use a music reference. This is like somebody back in '66 going out and buying the album Revolver by the Beatles. That entire album is all typical early '60s Beatles, very da 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 da. We have a good time like that. That's what that album is. And then you get to the end of the album, and it ends on a track Tomorrow Never Knows, and it's like, what is this? What is happening? I don't understand. This is similar because you would never think that this would be like the next step for any director or writer to go this far out there with a concept and to be this ridiculous about it after Fargo. I mean, compared to this,
oh, yeah.
Fargo was a serious movie. And then you watch this and it's like, oh wait, all bets are off. I would not change a thing about this movie. I love this movie. I probably will always love this movie. For a lot of the reasons that the two of you probably don't like it all that much. So if you're giving it a 5, if you're giving it a 5 because of the language of the nudity, that's fine. I'm not gonna take anything away from that. I give it an 8 or a 9 because of how over the top a lot of the languages of this movie, particularly John Goodman. Like, he elevates this movie hands down. He's the best part about this movie. I love him. I absolutely love him.
Every single thing he does goes over the top.
Way
and that's
over
what
the
makes
top.
his character so
And
good.
I love the dynamic that he and Jeff Bridges has, because when Jeff Bridges isn't around him, he's kind of cool, he's kind of calm and collected, and he's just really even keeled, and all he wants to do is hang out and, you know, throw his feet up and drink a White Russian. When he gets around Goodman in this movie, he gets really angry, he gets really animated, and he starts cursing just as much as John Goodman does in this movie. So it's like, it's that relationship that's going on in this movie.
It's because John Goodman is being over the top and ridiculous. He's like, dude, can you just chill out?
Yeah.
Well, can you just chill the heck out for a moment? Like, you just screwed everything up. I mean, that moment, whatever, we'll say near the end, where he just stands there and John Goodman is just like obliviously doing what he's doing. You know, the dude is just like, wow, everybody I know just sucks. Like, this is just... And he just like, what the heck, man? The entire time. It's like everything that Walter has done has been stupid and like,
I disagree with that.
What?
And here's the reason why. Well, first of all, what's funny is this movie is self-aware about the language, because they even have a line in it like, "Can you cool down with the curse words?" You know, the stranger. It's hilarious.
I love that he's credited as the stranger. I love that.
Right. If you look at John Goodman's character, though, as psychotic and over the top as he is, everything he says is accurate. Everything he says that's supposed to happen is what's happening.
Yeah, for the with the girl, yeah.
With the whole thing, it's all happening. Every bit of it's happening. And you have the dude going, no, but he's trusting him, and he's like, "This is really happening." But everything that John Goodman says throughout the movie that happens. And you're thinking this guy is losing it.
Yeah.
Nope. He is dead on the entire time.
He read
through it.
But he
read through the whole thing the whole time.
He's so over the top that you don't believe it. That's the thing. Like, the way that he plays this character is, you're right. He's correct about a lot of things that happen in this movie, but he's so over the top and angry and belligerent about it that it's like, oh, this guy, no, I'm not going to listen to this guy. Sorry.
Right. And that to me is when the twist happens and you see the reveal happens. You're like, oh my gosh, he was right the whole time.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, like, that's actually really cool. So the movie itself, I like this movie. I've always liked this movie. I just don't like the language.
That's fine.
And if they could have had language in it and made it belligerent, just dial it down a little bit. They could have made John Goodman still belligerent. It's just that it was literally every other word.
I know.
It with him was like every other word was the F word. And I was like, that's a little much.
I'm gonna softly agree with you. It didn't have to be every other word. And I'm not saying that because I don't like what John Goodman did in this movie, but John Goodman is a lot more than just cursing, and he always has been. He's an amazing actor, and he should be able to pull this character off without every other line there being an F-bomb. I will agree with this. I love it, but I agree that he's much more competent than what they had him doing in this movie. I agree.
Right. Now, mind you, I think that every person casted in this film was perfectly casted.
Perfect.
I think the story is fantastic. I think the plot is amazing. I think that everything that happened throughout it and how each person played their character, everything fit well. Tara Reid was in it just enough. Just enough.
Just enough.
Just enough.
Yeah.
A few scenes less. They could have just talked about her and not even brought her in, and I would have been fine.
Yeah.
I think it's funny. Like, you want to call it nudity when Julianne Moore is strapped to the harness and she's doing the painting and she gets off, and then you see her like bum cheeks.
Yeah.
It just I could have done without that. Like, it was not pretty. Like, it was not pretty looking at all.
Okay, so
it was funny.
Well, that's funny.
I thought she was wearing a bodysuit. At first, I thought she was wearing a bodysuit, and then they pan closer to her, and I'm like, nope, that's her.
Yeah.
I felt bad, but I was like, yeah, it was funny. It was that part was funny. Like, who does splatter painting from a artist naked? Like,
she does. I don't know why.
Apparently.
I don't know why. I've seen people do splatter painting, and they're not coming in on a harness naked to do it. I don't understand why it had to be done that way at all. I think it's just the hilarity of it. Like, Jeff Bridges, like, the dude is now in this situation, and the first thing he sees is naked chick coming through, splatter painting. Why is this happening? It's very otherworldly in a way. Yeah, it's really weird.
And one of the scene where her and her friend, I don't know what, where they're on the phone and they're just hysterically laughing.
Oh, yeah. The dude from Harry Potter.
He played on Harry Potter. He's so young.
David Thewlis. He was also like Ares in Wonder Woman.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Ah.
Really?
Right?
Cool.
I think he was.
Sure.
So, I mean, this film for what it is fantastic. For me personally, my standards with the language, it crossed that boundary for me.
That's fine.
And yeah, I do know that No Country for Old Men is nowhere near as bad language-wise.
It's not. It's just
it does have language in it.
So
but
it has language in it,
bad.
but it's not over the top. I think this is one of the more over the top films in terms of language. Probably that I've ever. No, I can't say that. It's not. It's not. It's not the worst.
Have you ever seen Way of the Gun with Ryan Phillippe and Benicio del Toro?
I haven't.
I remember that one. Yeah.
So their opening scene, this was back in the mid '90s. Their opening scene had a 5-minute dialogue, and they had the F word in it 60 times or something like that for the first 5 minutes. Their goal in that scene was to see how many, remember when South Park wanted to do the S word as much as possible
in episode. They had a counter. I remember that.
They had a counter in it.
Yes.
They tried doing that
time, and then the monster came out.
They tried doing that with the F word and Way of the Gun, and this opening scene was just like, how many times can we throw the F word in? They didn't count it, but it was just a lot.
Didn't they say Blink 182? 182 was actually the number of how many times they said the F word in Scarface? Wasn't that the
182?
Yeah.
See, even that, I don't remember. I mean, I remember Scarface being bloody. I remember it being violent. I don't remember Scarface being over the top.
226.
Really?
Oh no. Ironically, Scarface ranked a bit low with just 226.
I was just about to say that
because Wolf of Wall Street, I think blew it out of the water.
Wolf of Wall Street's a lot.
Yeah. No, I think they Wolf of Wall Street tried to go beyond that. What?
In this movie, it's 260 times.
Yeah,
that's
in an hour,
lot.
In a 2-hour movie.
That's a lot. That's a lot of F-bombs.
It's just how many times Tony Montana said the F-bomb in Scarface. Okay, that's what Blink-182 came from. So not the entire movie, but just Tony Montana.
Okay.
Tony Montana.
Okay.
Tony Montana.
So yeah, that's a lot for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, geez, we watched Guardians of the Galaxy and they said it once, and we go,
well, that's because you're not expecting it in the film.
No.
When I watch a movie,
it's a Disney movie.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
You see a Disney princess drop an F-bomb, you go, a whole new. What'd you say? Oh,
there are films where I expect it, like the movie 13 Hours. One of my favorite movies. It is a Michael Bay film. You need to watch it, Will. It's fantastic. But there's the F word in this movie a bunch of times. But there are scenarios where I ask myself, if that was happening to me, would I be talking that way? I don't know. Because you have an RPG blowing up 30 feet from where you're standing. Stuff might slip.
Yeah.
You don't have absolutely. To. You know what? You don't have to defend yourself this much. Because I know you, and I know that you're not just saying this just to be saying it, and I respect you for that. Because when we did 25th Hour, you loved his monologue in the mirror. You had no problems with that at all. because it belonged and it fit in that part.
Right. It justified
so it justifies that entire monologue of Edward Norton's in that movie. Just is completely 100% justified for the way that he's feeling, for the time era that they're in, for the circumstances and everything surrounding everything. So and you like that, and fine. I can completely understand your dislike for the language in this movie. I admit, it's over the top. I just happen to love that it's over the top.
This movie is over the top.
Absolutely.
But that does make sense, though. Is the language in this movie is over the top because the entire movie is over the top.
Yeah.
So that you just turned me way down in my microphone.
I thought you were 4.
In my headphones.
Are you not here?
That's
Yeah, that's you. Okay, you're 4. Exactly. You're fine.
No, you turned me way down.
I turned you to a normal level. Yeah, I turned you back to my level. Go ahead, keep going.
So,
for some reason, you and I are 2 and 4, even though we're 1 and 2.
So, with that being said, I'm ready to get into spoiler territory.
Oh, did you not already? It sounded like you were saying some spoilerific stuff.
No, not really.
So, with that being said,
if you hold on,
yes,
before we go too far, let's give a shout out to one of our top patrons, Sarah. Thank you so much for patronizing us. Honestly, she is our top patron, giving to us more than I expected. We had a conversation earlier. I was like, whoa, all right, wow. Thank you. We appreciate that. But that's the big thing is like we are doing this just on our own. Like everything we do, everything we've put into this is all on our own dime. And not many of us have many dimes to spare. So if you feel like giving to us and helping us out, please join us on Patreon to get the rest of our conversation, the full conversation with video here, this, and everything else. Also, we have a couple of conversations that are up there that only Patreon people get.
Patrons.
One of them, patrons?
Yes.
Yeah, patrons.
You also get some cool merch, too.
Get some cool merch. You get the conversation on, I think, the Crossing the Switchblade is only on Patreon. So things like that. Please join us. Because we're about to jump into what's only Patreon stuff besides just the audio stuff.
I was actually thinking about that for a little while. I was thinking like, what more can we do for Patreon? There has to be like.
Well, that's where we're gonna open it up right now. So if you guys or girls who are listening have ideas and more things you want to hear from us, let us know. We do have a few things we're already doing right now, but we are open to suggestions to see how we can make this more beneficial for you guys.
Correct. And it starts at $3 a month.
Yes.
$3 a month. And you get some great bonuses, some great gifts, some great merch.
We would say bonuses, but we are ripping somebody off if we do, though.
I don't want to say that.
No, we can't.
I respect them way too much.
Yeah.
You can find us at patreon.com/blackandwhitereviews. So with that being said, spoiler territory. Here we are.
Here we go.
Here we go.